Let's say you have never drawn before, used paint or held a pencil. Why would you start drawing? Well, you could really start for any reason. Maybe you want to make fan art, maybe make your fantasies come to life, draw your own characters and develop a story, or unleash your questionable imagination. Any reason is really good enough. As a kid, I had an interest in art, but I never really drew anything, and instead I would go on places like DeviantArt to look at what other people were making. I didn't really see myself as a creative person, and I was often too insecure to make anything, because what if other people think it's bad? But later I did pick up drawing at around the age of 23, and although I can't say I'm an amazing artist now, what I can say is, I have learned a lot just by pursuing drawing as a skill. For example, Number 1. Kids are stupid and any adult can learn to do what a kid can do within nanoseconds because all children are dumb. Adults seem to be particularly afraid of picking up new skills, and although I can't speak for every case why, I can speak from my own experience. It's easy to think, man, I just wish I'd started drawing 5 years ago, because by now I would be pretty good at drawing. But now I'm an adult, and it's too late. And I only have 60 more years to live, and I can never learn anything new again. But here are some things to consider. First off, most people will try out one thing, and then when they fail, they quit. This is where the line is drawn for most people. Drawing is valuable because you're going to make a ton of failures. In fact, every drawing you make will probably have some sense of failure to it, but only because you are growing through that failure. As a complete beginner, you can probably look at your drawing and tell it is bad, but maybe you're not sure what is wrong with it. But if you continue on, you're going to get some clues. What if I did it like this instead? And suddenly every failure starts to feel less and less like a disaster and more like a learning experience. And I know I would much rather have a drawing that turned out bad, that I learned from, than a drawing I was afraid to continue on because I was afraid I would ruin it. And here's one thing, as a complete beginner to drawing, you can actually have an upper hand over people who have drawn for a long time. In art, there are things called the fundamentals of art, anatomy, perspective, color theory, etc. What if you took 1 week every day to try and draw the human body? Well, no matter what, you're going to know a lot more about the human body than you did before. You can approach drawing using direction. Why not tackle things like anatomy, perspective, and drawing forms? Although some people can say I have drawn my entire life, that doesn't mean they're actually good at drawing, because they might have just never tried to actually improve. And if you start drawing as a kid, something like drawing anatomy and perspective might not just sound fun, so they never do it. But tackling a skill like drawing as an adult, you can look at things more objectively and say, so this is what I have to do to get better. So let's say you start drawing today and try something like perspective. You're already going to be ahead of a lot of people who have drawn for a long time and never tried it. If you're an adult who wants to learn how to draw despite no experience or creativity, you can do it. It's a learned skill, just like anything else. Number 2. Finally, you can learn how to learn. What does it take to be good at something? Well, someone might say we are naturally born with it. People are just naturally good at art, music, sports, and whatever. But they might not be as inclined to say people are naturally born knowing how to play guitar, or how to speak foreign languages. Someone might be naturally talented at picking something up, but they're not going to inherently know something. Actually, what it sounds more like is that these people have a genuine interest in something, and they are willing to continuously pursue it. The end result might be something like playing the guitar or speaking a foreign language, but to us it seems very sudden, because we don't have to see the struggle or thought process that they go through with learning it. I wouldn't say natural talent doesn't exist, but I would say no one has ever gone far with just natural talent. Anyone who practices something is going to go further than any initial spurt of, oh yeah, I kinda get it. Along with that, I would probably say that all skills are meta skills. For example, someone who has already studied a language before, they're going to know how to approach learning another language, or a new skill, like music or drawing. Here's the secret about all those artists and creative people you look up to. They are not gods, they are human beings like yourself, meaning if they can learn to do it, you can learn to do it too. But here's the issue, it's going to take time and work and studying as hard as they did. Number 3, you can learn to see with your eyes because your brain will make you blind. This might sound strange to a lot of people, or stupid, but there is this thing the human brain naturally does where it quickly processes information around us. So you might look out and quickly see things as trees, road, grass, rocks. And this makes sense because no one would ever want to go to a beach and be like, hey everybody, stop calling it sand, we have to account for the unique individuality of each mineral. So most of the time, most of us see the world like this, because we don't really take enough time to perceive things as they really are. Have you ever looked out over the horizon and seen that shadows aren't always black? Look at how blue these shadows are, but a beginner artist would draw them as black. That colors like black and white really are quite hard to find in nature, and even the white in an eye is not completely white. Or look at how weird feet are. Feet look really dumb. I don't like feet. This plays a role in drawing, because this is how a lot of us first approach drawing. For example, if a complete beginner were to draw a hand, a person, or an eye right now, odds are it would look like this. But this is not what things actually look like. These are just symbols of objects that exist in our heads. So instead, when you start drawing, really try and look at what you are observing. Treat a hand like you have never seen one before, like it's an alien being from another planet, and then draw that. Of course, you don't need any of this to be more perceptive, you don't need drawing. But I don't think I would appreciate the colors and forms and environments of nature without drawing and painting, and I wouldn't appreciate the art that others make as much. I like looking at a lot of art, whether it's drawings, comics, animation, or video games, and being able to express art also helps you with analyzing the art that others make. Number 4. A sketchbook is like a visual journal. I particularly like drawing as a skill, because you have your own improvement visualized before your eyes. Of course you're going to see improvement with other things, like learning a language or getting fit, but it's also quite nice to have a trail of progress behind you. A drawing is going to show all of your skills right there before your eyes, which might be harder to approximate with another thing. Drawing has played a huge role in my own personal growth, because it does require changing yourself a bit to be able to improve. You're going to learn how to deal with critique, how to give critique, how to approach problem solving and rational thinking. And it's also pretty great to look back at the drawings you've made, even the ones you didn't like, because you can still remember how it made you feel and what you tried to communicate with it. In fact, that's how I started drawing. I didn't have any big goals of big environments or portraits every day. My first goal was to doodle things, and eventually I would have a collection of daily doodles. So don't be afraid to start small, because if you went to the gym for the first time and you were pressured to lift the heavy weights, you would probably never come back. First off, just get acquainted with drawing comfortably. Can you make straight lines? Can you draw over those lines and make those lines just as straight? This might sound like small stuff, but it's actually pretty important. If you have never drawn before, then you're probably going to need some time just getting comfortable with drawing with a pencil, drawing freely, and drawing with confidence. Even professional artists regularly practice this kind of stuff. A final chapter. It's not really just about drawing. You don't have to pick up drawing, but in my view, having a hobby is very important. Hobbies and interests are what makes you an interesting person, and without them you're just kinda bland. I can personally recommend drawing because that's what I have experience with, and it's because it blends into mediums I enjoy, like art and animation and games. I can't promise you will immediately be good at art, in fact it might take several years. But I would consider drawing to be a meta skill that's going to improve on a lot of things beyond just drawing. It's going to teach you how to teach yourself to solve your problems and how to develop as a person, to deal with failure, to progress, how to handle projects. You can try out drawing, and if you don't like it, then no big deal, try something different. But no matter what hobby you pick up, there's not going to be an easy one or a shortcut that gets you good. They're all going to be different kinds of difficult, and even tougher if you have no interest in them to begin with. But I would also like to say, when you pick up something new or different, you're not going to immediately fall in love and be passionate about that hobby. It's actually going to be tough for the first few days or weeks or months, and sometimes it takes learning how to love something. But at some point you will just know, having learned what I've learned so far, do I actually want to keep doing this? Seeing what others are doing with it, is that something I want to do? What could I see myself doing with this? And knowing how far I want to reach, is it worth it? I can't answer those questions. But make sure you keep moving and not just ponder the possibilities all day. Just do something, and figure it out as you go along. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this content, then you can support me on Patreon. And I also have a second YouTube channel where I do more lower quality content, like play video games. There will be more videos in the future, and not just about drawing, just whatever I feel like. But see you until then.